Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Procrastination being a time-honored tradition and part and parcel of a student's lifestyle, here I am making a small video for you while I am nominally editing. Now, I am editing my EMA, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about working to a word limit. All of the OU assignments that I've handed in have had some sort of word limit to them. Now, while this word limit isn't 100% absolute, any work exceeding 10% above that word limit is simply not assessed. So if you put some really good ideas in the end, they don't count. And conversely, it's also generally assumed that if you're less than 10% under a given word limit, then you've not done everything that's asked of you. So, this is my 6th year of OU studies, and I've been running a blog with weekly entries for, 5 years I think. I've had the blog for 10, but I've had weekly entries for the last 5 years. What this means is that my inner editor has a lot of power, and a lot of the tricks that I'm going to talk about now are things that I do as I write. So, my approach to writing an OU assignment is as follows. First, I read the assignment. What do I need to do? I evaluate it, and then I decide how I want to answer it. I create a structure, and then I write the assignment, making sure to include attribution of my sources as I go. Now, at point 1, I usually create a spreadsheet. Now, you're going to see that pop up right about here. I create a spreadsheet to track word usage with regards to the limit, as well as divide the word limit across the subsections of the assignment, so that I assign the appropriate number of words to each section. So the thing you've been looking at here, that's my spreadsheet for the EMA. So I've got a total word limit of 3,000 words. There are 500 for section 1, for question 1, and then there are 2,500 for question 2, which is again subdivided in A and B. Now, A is worth 50 points, B is worth 30 points, and question 1 is worth the remaining 20 points. So that works out then to approximately 1,550 words for 2A and 950 words for 2B. Alright, let's get back to the approach. Now, this whole thing assumes that I've got the time to do so, that I've been good enough to plan, that, I've got enough time to work through my process. That isn't always a given. I've had a number of extensions on assignments. However, I do try to, ensure that I at least make an attempt, right? But assuming that I've got the time, I write the assignment, and then once I've gotten what I want to get into it, I walk away from it for a few days. I leave it alone. I don't look at it. I'm not going to tell you that I don't think about it, because I think about little else, or at least it's part of what I think about throughout the day. Anyway, after a few days of just leaving it alone, I come back to it and I read it. I read it through with some measure of fresh eyes. The first thing I do now, I usually write with the stated goal of exceeding my word limit. Basically, I want to have something to cut, because I tend to be kind of wordy. Yeah, that's not just for you guys. That's look, I come from a family where why use one word when 10 will do, right? So I tend to be kind of wordy, and that is a tendency that you need to fight. Now, there are a few things that you can do. The simplest one, the absolutely simplest one, is to cut out qualifying words. Qualifying words, very, acutely, absolutely, right? Extremely, so on. The idea here is to let your arguments stand or fall on their own merits. Now, these words do certainly give a bit of flair and a bit of panache to your writing, but we're working to a word limit here, so they need to go cut, cut, cut. Once that's been done, I read through it again. As I'm recording this, I've probably read through my EMA 80 times? 90? At least? You get to be very, very familiar with your work. But I read it through critically, pen in hand, with a view to consistency and to coherency. Am I using the same tense throughout? Am I being coherent? Have I hit the point I wanted to hit? Have I answered the brief? After doing that, then I'm back to looking at my word limit. How am I doing? Am I short? Am I long? Am I within my 10%? And after the aforementioned 6 years of experience with OU studies, I'm usually about 20%, within 20% of either side of the word limit when I've written my first draft. That is usually, and I'm usually over, and that's by design. I'd much rather have to cut a good idea than have to scramble to come up with new ideas. You know, it makes for a better text. It makes for a better work. So, as I said, as I'm usually over, cutting is the order of the day. And again, I look through the text. I remove extraneous words. If there are places where I've used 7 words where I could have used 2, then I cut that. If every single little one of those on its own is insignificant, but if it's part of a bigger picture where this is how things look, well, then we're starting to work up to some numbers. So yesterday I cut almost 300 words just by rephrasing and restructuring. But at any rate, that's the way it goes. I go back and forth through it, repeating these steps as often as needed until I'm either happy with my assignment or, this is usually the case, the deadline is near. I hope this is useful for you, and I wish everyone the very, very best of luck with their assignments, be they tutor marked assignments, be they end of module assignments. You can do this. I've got faith in you, and I've got faith in me. Alright? You can do it. That's everything for this time around. As always, please do leave your comments down in the comment section. Please do like, share, subscribe, all of those good things. If there's anything you want to know, pop me a comment or send me an email. The email address is in the description. There you go. Until the next time.